Good morning. It is Saturday, December 22nd, and we are here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. You're currently looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 as it awaits its 9:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. Today's launch is of the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 1 satellite for the U.S. Air Force. My name is Tom Perderio, and I'm a firmware engineer here at SpaceX. For those of you just joining us, we did have a launch attempt early Tuesday morning. However, we called a hold on that launch due to a reading on the vehicle's first stage sensors that was out of nominal range. In the past 48 hours, the team has conducted additional tests on the vehicle, and we are cleared to move forward with today's launch attempt. The teams are closely monitoring the weather. Right now, upper level winds are currently a little bit concerning, but the teams are continuing to evaluate the weather as we get closer to T-0. Today's payload is the Global Positioning System, or GPS. You have likely heard of GPS satellites, which provide a diverse range of positioning and timing services for civil and military purposes. Due to a combination of today's satellite mass and orbit, we will not be attempting a first stage recovery as we need to reserve enough propellant to get the payload to its intended orbit. So with that, let's take a look at what's happening out on the pad.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Shiva. I'm a Falcon integration and test engineer here at SpaceX. And behind me is a live view of the 70-meter tall Falcon 9 two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle. Now, the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, which is shrouded in that condensation, is what we call the first stage. And it accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to the upper reaches of space. Now, you'll notice this vehicle doesn't have any grid fins or landing legs, and that's because, as Tom mentioned earlier, today's target orbit does not permit a recovery attempt. So this makes today's Falcon 9 a rare expendable version. Now, above the first stage is what we refer to as the second stage, which will separate from the vehicle at about 3 minutes into the launch and then carry the GPS-3 space vehicle into a highly elliptical orbit on its single MVAC engine, the ultimate target orbit being medium Earth orbit, or MEO. Now, the very top of the rocket is our 5-meter diameter payload fairing, which is a two-piece composite structure which will protect both the rocket and the satellite from the forces of ascent. We aren't attempting to recover today's fairing, as our recovery vessel, Mr. Steven, is on the west coast of the United States. Now finally, next to the Falcon 9 is this large gray truss structure that we call the Transporter Erector, or TE. The TE rolls Falcon 9 out to the launch pad, raises it to the vertical launch position, and also routes critical power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and satellite.
We are currently just about 10 minutes until the T0 mark. The team is continuing to evaluate the weather conditions for today's launch. If we do have to call a hold on today's launch, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, December 23rd, at 8:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, as of now, the teams are pressing forward with today's launch attempt. Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-35 minutes. At T-15 minutes, the GPS spacecraft finished transitioning to its internal power. We're currently loading propellants into the rocket. Falcon 9 uses a refined form of kerosene called RP1 for its fuel and a super chilled liquid oxygen called LOX as its oxidizer. Currently, RP1 is nearly fully fueled on the first stage, and the second stage is fully fueled. Liquid oxygen loading is currently underway on both stages. We've also begun helium loading. The vehicle uses a helium gas as a pressurant to push the RP1 and LOX through to the Merlin engines. At T-7 minutes, engine chill will begin. This is where we allow a small amount of the super cold liquid oxygen to flow into those Merlin engines to make sure that they're brought down to the correct temperature and avoid any shocks to the system at T-0. Finally, the Transporter Erector, which is the gray tower to the left of the vehicle, will slightly retract at around T-4.5 minutes, which provides clearance for the Falcon 9 at liftoff.
Hi, my name is Michael Andrews, and I'm a member of the supply chain team here at SpaceX. Today's mission is to launch the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 1 satellite for the United States Air Force. GPS is a satellite-based global navigation system that provides a wide range of uses, from navigation to agriculture to search and rescue. This latest generation of GPS, known as GPS-3, will introduce new capabilities such as improved accuracy, improved anti-jamming capabilities, and an extended service life. Today is the first launch for the GPS-3 constellation and culminates in 10 space vehicles. After today's mission, SpaceX is contracted to launch 4 more of those GPS space vehicles for the Air Force in the coming years. Now, a fun fact is that the customer team names their satellites after famous explorers. This one is called Vespucci, after Amerigo Vespucci, the Italian explorer for whom the Americas were named. Now, let's learn a little more and take a look at a video produced by the Air Force on GPS-3 Space Vehicle 1.
It was exciting to be able to plane the whole modernized era. Where do we go next? We wanted to add some new signals to support civil aviation. We wanted some higher quality signals for M-code to be able to get anti-jam capability, because we knew that where the direction it was going, that everybody after Desert Storm had realized that we were using this tool that significantly improved our warfighting capability.
Okay, go triple sets right here. Do it.
And so now we knew it was going to start becoming vulnerable. And so we had to start with the next generation. And I really can see now, as we're starting to deploy that generation, we need to start working on what is next. How do we protect ourselves in the future? Because the system is so entrenched in everything we do, whether it's commercial or military, that we need to make sure we can protect the integrity and the accuracy of the system to enable us to move forwards.
We are currently just about 5 minutes from liftoff. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. The vehicle remains in good health, and the first and second stages are now fully fueled. The weather right now, we track a number of things for weather conditions, including ground level winds, upper level winds, lightning cloud rules, and cumulus cloud rules. Right now it's clear down at the Cape, but the team is still monitoring what might be out of bounds for upper level winds. As you may have heard in the nets, we did just have a hold called based on weather conditions. Unfortunately, the weather is not going to permit a launch today, primarily because of those upper level winds. However, the team is going to proceed through the countdown just to get some additional data on the vehicle, but we will not be proceeding to a launch today at T0. So with that, we're going to bring the webcast to a close. Please stand by for the next launch attempt, which will be tomorrow at about the same time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Stage 2, LOX load closed out. Vehicles on internal power. Falcon 9 is in startup.
Hold, hold, hold. This is CE on countdown 1. We are stopping the count at 30 seconds.
Launch abort is started.
As you just saw on the webcast, and for those just joining, we did have a hold called for upper level wind conditions that weren't within bounds for flight. So unfortunately, we were not going to be able to proceed all the way through the T0 and the launch today. However, we do have a backup opportunity for launch tomorrow. That's December 23rd at 8:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much for joining us. Please follow SpaceX's social media accounts and website for updates. We will see you tomorrow for the next launch attempt.